my hand shot up, and I had to walk to the front of the room with all of these strangers staring at me. I had 2 minutes to give a free-form response, and the question was, what is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten? And unlike everyone else, I decided to begin with a story. And I said, my manager looked at me and said, you have nothing to do? You want to go home? Great. Instead, why don't you get on your hands and knees and clean the base of the bar? And I just looked at him and said, dude, it's Easter. Seriously? You're not going to let me go home early? No, because then I'd have to pay you minimum wage. And that was my moment. That was my moment that I realized that I had outgrown a place where I was going to be abused and taken advantage of. That was my defining moment. And that was the moment that I decided that I was going to go all in as an entrepreneur. And I put in my 2 weeks. And my road of entrepreneurship was far from easy. And before I even made that official plunge, before my 2-week period was up, I had every person under the sun coming up to me and telling me why I should just wait a little bit longer. Why don't you save up a little bit more money? You know, this is a really difficult thing to do. Build an online business. Are you sure you're prepared? And on and on and on. And the best piece of advice, the best thing that I learned from that process is trust your gut and never take advice from unhappy, unhealthy, unsuccessful people. That was the story that I shared that day at the Toastmasters meeting. And as a newbie and a guest, I was very surprised when I won the coveted prize of a little tiny banner. I won this little thing at the end. Everybody puts in their vote, and I won, and no one could really figure out why. Like, people were looking at me like, whoa, where did that come from? But no one really in the audience, or maybe some people, they couldn't really understand what I did differently. They just knew it was more interesting than some of the other things that people said. And this really comes down to learning how to craft compelling story so that you can stand out as a speaker in the online space, in any conversation that you have. Learning how to be an incredible storyteller is so key. If you are just jumping on for the first time, my name is Jen Casey. I am a business strategy coach, and I work with online entrepreneurs in the health and wellness field, and I teach my people how to go from social media to sales. And I am so pumped today to be able to share with you guys some of my best tips and tricks and tools on really how to craft compelling story. I hear almost on a daily basis that people don't have a story, that they feel that they don't have one. My stuff is not interesting enough. I don't know how to craft it. How do I make it interesting? How do I make it something that people actually want to hear? I'm a stay-at-home mom. Who cares about my story? But every single one of you all have a story. In fact, you have millions of stories because you're a human being. And as human beings, we are storytellers. Every single moment of our life is basically like a movie that you'd see on a screen. And so when someone says to me, they don't have a story, I'm like, oh, you don't have a story? You don't even know. You don't even know. You've got some juicy stuff and you are sitting on a freaking gold mine. Okay, so this first piece of story is using story to teach and engage. That is one of the most powerful things that you can do with story, because I could get on here right now and share with you guys and say, here, these are the check marks of story and boop, ba-doop, 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 ba-doop. Or I can give a story to illustrate a point. And as I was just sharing with you, I went to that Toastmasters meeting. I won because I was able to seamlessly integrate story into what I shared. And so I actually went back the following week. I went back to try my luck again, and I actually sat there and waited for a question to come up, and I knew that I had to integrate story in it because I wasn't just going to get up there and flail and fluster. And the question was, what kind of animal would you be? And I was like, this is a good one. I've got something in my back pocket. So I go up, and long story short, I end up winning. Later that week, I'm sitting at Starbucks with one of my coaching clients, and we were actually sitting there talking about the power of story. Like, woo-doo-doo, talk about the Twilight Zone, right? when all of a sudden this random guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I know you. I recognize you." I'm like, "What?" I thought he was talking to her because she does a lot of speaking. So I was like, "Oh, yeah." And he's like, No, you. You were at the Toastmasters meeting the other night and you told that story about how you're a war horse and how when you and your brother were little on Easter, you used to chase him down and you would get all the eggs when you do the Easter egg hunt and like you would flip stuff and he would stand there and blah, blah. And he knew my entire story and he remembered it. He remembered all the little funny moments, all the details. And I was like, dude, this is so cool. I am sitting here teaching a lesson about story when this guy comes up to me and tells me how he remembered my story from the other day when I used story in a presentation. And I was like, this is insane. But it was just the most perfect teachable moment. And so that is really my very first point for you here, is that when you are using story to teach and engage with the people that you are trying to reach, be it in a classroom, be it on social media, be it on a stage, if you can use story to integrate into what you are teaching, not only is it way more interesting, but people get a real sense of you and they feel connected to you on a really deep level. Because when you're talking about something that happened in your childhood, like when I shared that story of me and my brother being little kids running around on Easter, going for Easter egg hunts, you, as the listener, are likely going to think of a moment where you had something similar in your experience, and then we've instantly created this rapport and this connection. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible what story could do. And if you guys have not already followed the social media account Humans of New York, that is just the best piece of proof of the power of story. It is a photographer who's gone around New York and now all over the world to take pictures of people, and he's able to get little snippets from them about their life, and on that whole social media account, it's photos of various people with little tiny snippets of their stories. And it is so moving. I can waste hours of my day just reading these incredible, incredible stories, these struggles, these things that people went through. He is able to get such depth out of the people that he interacts with. And I mean, that account has millions and millions of followers because we're all human at the end of the day and we all want to feel connected. So when you are diving into really trying to figure out how to craft your story, one of the most important pieces of story in general, and one of the best tips that I could give you so that you can take action today, is don't tell me, show me. Don't tell me, show me. Now, not too long ago, I was working with one of my amazing clients one-on-one, and we were diving into one of her stories. And she's like, I work with moms. They're always struggling. They're stressed out. They're overworked. So can I just write something like a social media post, like if you're, overworked, and I know because I was there and I was stressed, and I was like, well, what does that mean? We got to get more specific. That's a good starting off point. You've identified the state that you were in, the emotional state that you want to communicate to your audience, and make that a big part of the niche that you're trying to serve and a big part of your brand message. But how can we dive into that and kind of unbox that a little bit so that it's a story? And so I asked her, I said, well, is there one moment in time, one moment where you can remember where that was at its peak, or when you were at rock bottom with that level of stress and anxiety and being super mom and trying to do everything? And she said, I kicked in the door. And I was like, well, that's a little something right there, because I can't see you kicking in a door, so already you've got me intrigued. What happened next? And she's like, well, then blah, blah. No. What literally happened immediately after that moment? What was the exact, take me through that movie. What happened exactly after that? And she said, my husband came in and he looked at me and said, I know you want to run this business, but this is not you. And I was like, that is some powerful stuff, dude. I was like, that is gold. Because that's real. And she started getting really emotional about it. And I was like, dude, you're finding that moment. You're finding that story. This is a moment that carries so much weight for you. To be able to get on live video and say, I used to be really scared and I was overwhelmed and I was depressed, that's telling me. But when you say, I kicked in the door because I just couldn't handle it anymore, and my husband came in the room and he looked at me and said, I know you love this business, but this is not you. I'm getting chills. I see that movie happening. So I said to her, I'm like, okay, well, what happened after that? What happened next? And she said, he hugged me and I fell to the floor. I fell to the floor in tears. And we both just sat there and we were like, holy crap, dude, this is good shit. This is a good story. Because it's human and it's real, and we've all had those really messy rock bottom moments where shit just sucks. And she was able to not just be vulnerable and tell the story, but she was able to just give such beautiful specificity. And when she tells it, man, you just like, you want to cry with her because it's like, holy crap. And then you see her now and she's just like a total awesome human, like total super mom, and it's amazing to see that transformation. And so when she tells that story, that immediately connects her to her audience on a whole new level. So that's this idea of really, don't just tell me, show me. The next piece that I really want to touch on with you guys is this idea, this is the idea of using story to sell. Many of you are selling products or programs or courses, things that obviously you need to monetize something in the online space in order to have an online business, right? You have to monetize something. It might be your service, it might be a product, it might be a program, it might be an online course, it might be an ebook, whatever that thing is, right? You're monetizing something. And very often we see that people jump on social media, they create a post, and the post is very heavily, the content and the copy is really focused around the features and the benefits of that product, program, service. So for example, let's say somebody is selling a shake. I work with a lot of health coaches, so this comes up pretty often. If you are selling a health shake and your post on social media is a picture of you sipping your shake and telling the world all the features and benefits, like it has all of these vitamins and minerals and this much protein, and I have been full for hours, and it's the best because it's better than all the other ones, and it's only this amount of money, and instead of going out to your favorite place for lunch tomorrow, you can save this amount of money by buying now. And you're focusing on the price points, which is a feature, and you're focusing on, what's inside of it, which is one of the benefits. But it's like, instead of focusing on that, like the rest of the world might be doing, and the rest of the world could be doing, the question becomes, how do you, as somebody who really loves this product, program, service, how do you stand out? How do you make your sales copy more compelling, more interesting? I'll give you an example. If I was going to sell a shake, I might share a personal story of my health, and I would say, when I was 19 years old, I went to the endocrinologist, and he looked at me and said, you might have Barrett's disease, a precancerous condition of your esophagus due to years of untreated acid reflux. That actually happened to me. And then I would continue and say, and I remember all the way back in 4th grade Miss Green's class, I would be sneaking grapes out of my lunch bag and eating them really slowly and trying not to crunch really loud so that no one would hear, because my acid was so intense. I thought they were hunger pains that whole time. It was so intense that I thought I was going to pass out from the pain. And I remember looking around at all the other kids in school going, how is nobody else eating? How is no one else hungry? Like, I just thought I was this really fat kid inside that I just wanted to eat 24/7 and that these were hunger pains. But the reality was I had some serious things going on inside my body that no one knew. But I didn't know any different, so I didn't know to complain about it. And so when he told me that I might have this precancerous condition, it rocked my world. I was 19, I was freaking out. And I remember going on medication for a little while, and I just knew that that was not going to be the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to find some kind of health alternative and really change my life. And so I finally stumbled across this really amazing shake, and within a week of drinking it, my body was completely changed. I was symptom-free, something that I really wasn't able to fully achieve with medication, and I was completely hooked. And that's why I am so incredibly passionate about this product. Story, telling you something that happened, something that I was able to overcome, versus talking about the price points, the features, the benefits. What's more powerful? Well, that's a story that I used to share when I was a health coach, and I'll tell you right now, this whole thing of story works a heck of a lot better. No one gives you price objections when you tell a story. No one gives you price objections when they understand the level of change that can have on your body and your life. And immediately they're able to say, well, maybe I don't have acid reflux or IBS, but maybe I have this condition, or maybe I have this problem. And all of a sudden, they understand the value of the product without you ever having to talk about price or trying to discount it or trying to negotiate it down or using all of these rather salesy tactics that don't really work. Like, dudes, this works so, the story way is the best way. And you will sell stuff like hotcakes, guys. You will not know what to do with all the new orders. So that is my call for you to go and figure out what that story is for your product, program, or service. And this last piece is when people say they don't have a story, they might not fully understand or have fully crafted their big story. It's like that big rock bottom moment, right? For me, maybe it's that moment that I decided to leave my waitressing job and just jump and be broke for a couple of years, right? That maybe is my big moment. Everyone gets really wrapped up in finding their why or finding their big moment, and they're like, if I don't have it, I'm not going to be successful. And I want you to recognize that I've got millions of stories, right? Because I'm a human being. I've lived on planet Earth. I have life. I have interactions with people. I have memories. I have experiences. So it's up to you to really sit down and start to ask yourself, what are some defining characteristics about me? What are some things that I want to be a part of my brand? Things that are funny, quirky, silly, a lot of great stuff you'll be able to pull from childhood. So I would encourage you to even go ask your family, what are some funny things that you did as a kid? And that's really going to give you so much great content. So if you love being organized, what are some funny stories of when you were organized as a kid? And maybe you teach meal prepping and meal planning for people. Well, you're like, listen, I'm your organization ninja, and even when I was 6 years old, I did blah, 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 and you tell that story, right? So when it comes to that, we also want to recognize that you've got stories that are happening right now every single day, every moment of every day. You're just not awake to them. And I remember when I first started in the online space, following some people who had great content. I loved going to their pages and reading their stuff. And because it was it was story. They were essentially sharing little moments of their day, but they were crafting it in a way that was really fun and really funny. And a lot of them had young kids, and the kids would say the darnest things, and they would pull from that, and they would just do little quick blurbs, like 3 sentences back and forth of something that the kid said, the mom said, the kid said, and like, boom, hilarious. That is essentially a mini story. That's a mini story. And that is going to tell something to the world about your brand, your relationships, who you are as a person, what you find funny, and that is what is going to draw people into you, right? So it's this idea of being able to document versus create. There are many people, especially in the health and wellness fields, who get very wrapped up in, well, I got to create this video, and I got to record this workout, but I'm not really a workout person, and then I got to take these pictures of these recipes, but I don't even really like cooking. You don't have to be that person. Permission to be you. You don't have to be that person. Your fitness and your wellness can be a very big part of your brand, but it doesn't have to be the only piece of content that you share. Like legit, the other day, I was like, you know what, this is a really hilarious moment, so I'm going to share it. And so I got on video inside our health coaches group, and I shared that the other day. I was like, dudes, I need a vacation, because the other day, I literally went to go do a workout, and I slid on my new Tommy Copper knee braces, and I realized, I looked down and I was like, I'm a freaking Amazon woman. How long has it been since I shaved my leg? Damn, that grew back fast. And then I put on the other one and I realized that I had only shaved one leg in the shower. It's just ridiculous. Like, who does that? That has never happened to me before. And I was mortified. I was like, oh my God, where's my brain at? Like, mashed potato brains over here. What's going on? I guess I'm pretty busy that I literally forgot to shave one of my legs. Like, so I shared that and everyone was like, oh my God, that's hilarious, and I mean, that's a super embarrassing thing to share. And like, some people would be really uncomfortable and some people are probably put off by that. And they're just like, what a personal, private thing to put on social media. But whatever, I'm a weirdo. That's my humor. That happened. It struck me as really funny, so I decided to share it. So What are some really funny moments that you can pull from conversations that you have with your kids, with your husband, with your significant other? The other day, my boyfriend, I was like, yeah, like I work from home and I build this business in yoga pants. And he went, yoga pants? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you mean pajama pants? And I was like, excuse me, rude. And he's like, what? He's like, I haven't seen you in yoga pants in a long time. And I was like, all right, well, if I do yoga in these pants, doesn't it make them yoga pants, even though they're technically pajama pants? So this is a really goofy, silly conversation because my boyfriend and I are very funny and very silly together. And I posted that on social media and so many people were like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's great. I'm just looking for moments in the day where little silly things happen. Things that make me laugh, I'm going to share it. I'm not going to spend 45 minutes trying to, come up with a post that isn't coming to me. I've truly gotten to the place where I know what my ideal client wants to hear. I know my tribe. I know my people. They're going to love whatever I put out. They're going to love me anyway, even though I'm a total weirdo. Because those are just the people that you start to attract. So for those of you who have got family members or friends or haters or whatever on your social media, and you're afraid to share story, you're afraid to be vulnerable, you're afraid to get real up close and personal, you don't have to do that. It's your brand. You get to decide what type of image you put out there. You can censor it a little bit. I'm pretty much out there raw and real, like take it or leave it. But, you get to decide what that looks like for you and what that sounds like and how much you decide to share and how much you don't share. So just to quickly recap for you guys, when you are telling story, make sure that you are using it to teach and engage. So instead of just giving people the bullet points and having your content be maybe dry or just very educational or informative, season in some juicy stories because those are the things that people actually remember. Those are the things people remember. When you are crafting your stories, use words. Really get colorful with the words that you use. Don't just tell me what happened. Don't just tell me you were depressed. Don't just tell me you were sad. Don't just give me a blanket emotion. Break it down, unbox that story, and take me through so that I can see the visual. If I have a movie playing in my mind while you're telling a story, you're doing that part right. You're nailing that part. When you are trying to sell products, programs, whatever it may be, whatever you're trying to monetize in the online space, make sure that you are focusing on story and integrating story as opposed to just using the features and benefits that you've decided, that your company's decided. Make sure that you are making it your own. There's a lot of copycatting as well in the online space where it's like, oh, I saw this person use this strategy and I'm going to copy and paste that onto my post and see if it works. But guess what? You are a full-on original when you are sharing your own personal stories. No one can take that away from you. Everybody out there can put up a quote. Everyone else in the online space can put up a quote of Gabby Bernstein. But if you take something that she said that you read in her book and make it your own, guess what? You're going to be quoted. You're going to be tagged in that post with quotes around your name. So be an original and put content out that comes from you. You're more than enough. You've got so much good content inside you. So allow that process to begin happening. And the last piece is this two-parter of don't just sit and try to create, document what's going on, and really make sure that you are taking the moments, pay attention to the moments in your life, in your everyday, that you can use to sprinkle into your online content. Honestly, you make those few shifts, and I guarantee your sales are going to increase in the next 3 weeks or sooner. It could be one post, and all of a sudden people are like, dude, I gotta sign up with you, right? That's the stuff that we love. That's the stuff that we love. And so if you can take these couple of tips and implement them, I am really excited to see how this really starts to evolve for you when you start putting these pieces in place. So if you guys would like, I am going to be sharing a PDF. I'm going to be sharing a PDF that goes along with some of this content. So if you would like to get that, I will leave the link for you below where you can sign up for the list. It is heyjencasey.com/clients-confidence-training. If someone could type that in the comments for me, I would really appreciate it. And I'm going to be giving you guys the replay of this 5-day challenge, plus I am going to be sharing that PDF so that you can get some more clarity on your story. I'm going to give you some story prompts, and hopefully that will really help you to further nail down your stories. So thank you guys so much for jumping on tonight. If you found this valuable, please feel free to share it on your page or tag an entrepreneurial friend below, and I will see you guys tomorrow for day 5. Bye, see you tomorrow.